Oh, Kyle, that was very interesting. Kyle, just explain and do the elevator pitch on who you are to a few thousand people.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Kyle Barnett. I'm with Philips Horticulture LED Solutions. I also host a podcast called Crop Talk. Kyle Talks Ag Tech. I've done about 200 episodes, interviewing different people within CEA, especially the leaders, the growers, the pushers, the educators. And I also work as the director of panel development at Indoor AgCon, a large industry trade show that takes place in Las Vegas every year in March. So excited to talk with you.
A busy man, as I call. And Kyle and I were just talking before. We just had a 30-40 minute session on controlled environment agriculture, and we were both swapping stories about vertical farming and greenhouse growing and LED lighting in the States, in UK and Europe, and we both decided it'd be quite good to do this. But we then just had that quite interesting interlude. So there was a chat from a US retailer. Vice President
Hannaford's was up there, U.S. retailer in the Northeast.
Yep.
And then you had representation from Plenty.
Yep.
And you had Bonnie moderating. And then lastly was the
Cox Farms.
Yeah, Cox, which is, they are an owner of Bright Farms at this time, and also I think they have some holdings with Mucci Farms as well.
Okay, so they seem to be, and Bonnie was doing this quite interesting thing of asking yes/no questions,
the true,
and the guys had to hold up a sign saying true or false.
Yeah.
And so it's quite interesting to see the response. I think one of the main ones was, will there be ongoing investment into vertical farming? And they all said yes.
Yeah, I think it was everyone but Cox, and Cox is investing heavily in greenhouse leafy greens, and the other two gentlemen, the retailer and Plenty representative, they were more true, and then he was false. And a lot of times I found that they agreed. It was just like, hey, how are we defining? Are we saying the whole landscape of vertical farming, or are we saying, hey? And what their answer really boiled down to was it's about the business case at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That a lot of the business cases for vertical farming thus far have not been a profitable model. And Plenty saying, okay, we have the profitable model, and that's more or less what they agreed on.
But I suppose in the defence, that whole vertical farming space, no one knew there'd be this escalation of energy prices when they first started out. Plenty Ag is well documented, has had $1 billion worth of financing, I suppose, and they've got more financing coming in, but they seem quite positive about the models that they've created. Mm-hmm. And as the chap said, you could walk out of this conference centre and buy their products on shelf. But I think we're sort of not trying to put words in your mouth, but we think there's definitely a route to market for LED lighting, for Philips, for greenhouse growing.
Yeah.
That's the way it's more likely to evolve. 5-10 years out.
I'm not saying, hey, the vertical farming side of the business is out for the count. As anyone that's in the space, it's been a very up and down couple of years at this point. But yeah, I think with the greenhouse, there's more of a proven model, proven tech at this point in time. And I think that a lot of investment what I'm seeing is starting to push into, let's say, a high-tech leafy greens greenhouse versus growing it in a vertical farm. So there still, I think, will be applications in which vertical farming makes sense. But I think when you're just looking at leafy greens production, I see a lot of the money flowing into that side of the market.
Yeah, so it's evolution, not revolution. It's almost like there's had to be, we've had to learn, and the only thing you can ever predict is change. No one knew these energy prices were going to come along and probably put a dampener on VF, but it's got to go for a big word, metamorphosizes us towards this leafy green sector with your technology.
Yeah, and I think the whole landscape, it's about, we're planting a seed, especially right now. It is a little bit of the Wild West. It's been that way for a while. And even the failed vertical farms that have come and gone, I believe they're all building a foundation of information, of data, of trial and error. So even if it's not, hey, the end application is going to be this, it could be something entirely different at the end of the day. So I still think the work that everyone's doing collectively is really important to build a very diversified portfolio of food production into the future.
Because it's all about food security and how we get there. As well as the chaps say, you learn by failure. And also, if you look at the chap from Plenty, he came from Impossible Foods.
Impossible Foods, yeah.
So we've got those sort of people coming in. So just adding to
just fortifying the food system. And I really think I love that you use food security, because that's when you look at certain regions, maybe they can't do greenhouse production, and I'm going leaps and bounds, and to an outrageous zone, but I even think about, growing in outer space, growing space.
Well
I think we're building a foundation right now, and maybe not even in my lifetime I'll see the fruits of all of our labor. But I think that even this technology, as it progresses, as it's better defined, it's going to find its outlet. And what that is anyone's guess, it's anyone's prediction. But it's all good work at the end of the day.
Carl, just come a bit closer.
Sure. Am I out of the camera?
And just to wind up, did you book this violinist?
Yeah, he's good. I'm not going to lie.
He's good.
Very talented artist.
Not when we're talking.
Yeah.
Just then check yourself again in your podcast so we can all...
Sure, yeah. So it's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just search Crop Talk, one word, and then hashtag Kyle Talks AgTech. And then Indoor AgCon is in Las Vegas every year. I believe it's the 11th and the 12th this year in March. So right now I'm just working with Suzanne, who works for Indoor AgCon as well, to find really great speakers and keynotes, and so it's going to be a great show. So if anyone wanted to speak with me, reach out to me on LinkedIn, Kyle Barnett, and I'm happy to connect and give any insight I can provide.
All right, Carl, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks,
Very informative.
Max.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.